Welcome to Bikini Bottom, where the waves are cool and the beach is hot. But I know why you're really here. You want to learn about trophic levels. Well, Bikini Bottom is the place to be. Before we begin, let's introduce our characters. Kelp is our producer. Plankton is our primary consumer. Mr. Krabs as our secondary consumer. And Painty the Pirate as our higher level consumer. And yes, that is his name for those of you that don't know. Now let's begin. A producer is one that produces its own food through processes such as photosynthesis. These are sometimes called autotrophs. Kelp is a producer because it has the ability to produce its own food via photosynthesis. A primary consumer is an organism that feeds on producers, such as plants. They are also called herbivores. Plankton is a primary consumer because rather than making his own food, he feeds on the kelp. A secondary consumer is an organism that feeds on herbivores or producers. They are sometimes called carnivores or omnivores, depending on what they're eating. Mr. Krabs is a secondary consumer because he is able to eat plankton, as well as the kelp. A higher level consumer is an organism that feeds on carnivores, herbivores, or producers. Painty the Pirate is a higher level consumer because he can eat Mr. Krabs, plankton, and/or the kelp. Here is a trophic level diagram to get an even better visual of this process. As you can see, the higher we move up the pyramid, the higher the level of the consumer. Another important part of trophic levels is the amount of energy we receive from the food that we eat. However, it is important to keep in mind that the amount of energy we get from each trophic level compared to the amount of energy that it took to make that food source seriously decreases as we move up the pyramid. A good example of this is the Krabby Patty. Let's look at the main components of a Krabby Patty in order from simplest to most complex. Lettuce, a bun, and a patty. And let's not forget the consumer, SpongeBob. The lettuce grows from the ground and can be eaten immediately. The bun comes from the grains from wheat directly. After some processing, we can eat it. The patty, however, comes from a cow. The cow must first be slaughtered, then butchered, and then sent to a factory for processing. After that, it must be cooked and then it can be consumed. Lettuce is an autotroph, so it is able to receive all of its energy from the sun. It is the most usable energy because none of it has been expended or released at this point. The patty, however, has the least amount of usable energy because the meat came from a live animal that had to consume a lot of food before it was usable to us. 90% of the energy that came from the lettuce that the cow ate is converted to a lower quality form and is lost from the system. The leftover 10% of the energy is usable to the cow. When SpongeBob eats the cow, he receives even less of this energy because 90% of the energy from the cow leaves the system and is converted to a lower quality of energy. SpongeBob will only be receiving the remaining higher quality 10% of the energy from the cow. With the lettuce, SpongeBob is a secondary consumer, so he gets to eat the lettuce directly without much energy wasted. This is why adopting a vegan diet is more energy efficient. SpongeBob is able to consume the majority of the energy from the lettuce, while with the patty, much of the energy from the food eaten by the cow is released into a lower quality energy that is not usable to him. Well, there you have it. All you need to know about trophic levels, SpongeBob style.